So, this is my character analysis presentation on Wilson, my character that I've made. Here's a mock-up of a LinkedIn profile that I made for him, just because I thought it made sense at the time. Sort of shows what he does and gives a background on his character. Wilson is a middle-aged man who is married to his wife Erin and has one son, Henry. Wilson is a tall, well-built man for his age and works in an office space as a human resources manager. Wilson's wife, Erin, makes him lunch every day, and they have a healthy relationship. Henry gets upset that he can't see his father as Wilson works until very late. Wilson is generally an easygoing, selfless family man. However, someone stole the lunch his wife made for him, which enraged him. Wilson will have to overcome his selfless nature and his ghost and find the person who stole his lunch. Now, just a bit of background on his job. I chose the Human Resources Manager because there are certain skills required of a HR manager, and I thought that would coincide well with my character of Wilson, like verbal and written communication skills, organization skills, and conflict resolution skills and negotiation. I think organization skills can come into the design of his office space to really communicate the idea that it's a bland office space, but it's very organized, and it shows a bit of Wilson's character. And the conflict resolution skills is only used until halfway through, because initially Wilson wants to get through this problem and find out who stole his lunch professionally, until he gives up and gets frustrated and decides to take revenge. Wilson's main goal is to find the worker who stole his lunch that his wife made for him for their anniversary, which sort of makes the lunch more important, and the audience can understand that it's an important lunch, not just an average whatever lunch. The main external obstacle is the fact that Wilson hasn't the faintest idea who could have stolen his lunch, so he's going to have to start an investigation on his fellow employees. Wilson's internal obstacle is his role as a HR manager and how he needs to convey himself in a business setting which should be professional in most circumstances. Wilson's character's flaw is his selfless nature, which would generally have let people use him and abuse his personality, and his ghost is his trauma from being harassed and bullied back at school when the school bullies would steal his lunch. The story details this is the synopsis. Who Stole the Lunch is a comedy drama short film about Wilson, a husband and an office worker who must find who stole his lunch. When Wilson is faced with an empty fridge where his lunch once was, he decides to investigate his fellow workers. But when the thief escapes him, Wilson must take extreme measures by purposefully poisoning his food, although he hates ruining his wife's food. Here's my second revision of the beat sheet, because I got some suggestions from the class. So it starts with an opening shot of Wilson at his desk, at his workplace, in his little working cubicle, and there's an obvious lack of color in the environment because everyone knows working spaces are boring, and a voice announcement on his computer tells him that the time is 1:15 p.m. Please take a break and eat some food. Then it cuts to Wilson opening the fridge, and there's an empty spot right where his lunch was. Wilson interrogates nearby colleagues in the break room / common room to find the lunch thief. Cuts back to him slumping back down in his chair, defeated and upset, which implies to the audience that the people he interrogated were not the thieves. Wilson then changes his reaction to an evil smirk, signifying a change in his thought process. Next morning, he places food in the fridge, same location. Then the same time, the reminder goes off at 1:15 p.m. Please have some food. Then cut to Wilson, who is already in the kitchen, and there's like an empty desk where his desk is. He's not sitting there, and Wilson has a determined look on his face. And then cut to a man in a suit, which implies that it's Wilson's boss, And he sneaks in and opens the fridge, looks through the various containers, sorts through them all, and then chooses Wilson's and sneaks off. Because, of course, Wilson's wife makes the food, and she's obviously a very good cook. The boss shoves the meal into his mouth like a glutton, and that's to make sure that the audience does not feel empathy for him. The boss walks into his separate office room, because we all know all bosses have their big, nice office space. But before he can reach it, another character walks around the corner with a food trolley, and they crash into the boss, which means the boss lurches forward over the top of the trolley. And this triggers the laxatives that Wilson poisoned his food with. And that causes the boss to spray poop everywhere. And now I'm imagining a slow motion montage of all the workers looking up and looking at the boss in fear, and then classical music, like something like Louise Armstrong's "What a Wonderful World," trees are green, red roses too, whatever, and all the workers begin to run in slow motion to escape the onslaught. And then cut to Wilson leaning against the fridge in a relaxed manner, just smiling as people run past him, and then cut to credits. Here is some world atmosphere photos, very bland and cramped working office cubicles, and boxy ceiling tiles with the texture that we all know and love with the little dots, and it's white and grey, and stereotypical colours, props on desk like an old style phone, and an awful looking PC setup. And the break room is also small and cramped and not supposed to be too big or detailed. Not too distracting for the audience. Just there to instantly convey the idea of a break room. The genre of my story is comedy drama, and I feel like this is the right way to tell my story, as the intention is to make a light-hearted story that entertains its audience in a positive and hilarious manner. An office setting works well with comedy, and my character is designed around working in an office. A typically dry, boring setting where people just work on various boring things like spreadsheets and budgets. My comedy story takes this dry, boring setting and inserts an exciting event into it, which changes the dynamic of how the setting works and how the people in it react, including my designed character. The dry and boring setting of an office is a stereotype that the target audience of comedy stories will immediately know and understand. Now, Wilson's character arc is that he transforms from a character who just wants to politely talk to the food thief and uses conflict resolution skills to resolve the situation to a man who's out for revenge. Wilson does end up getting revenge, which is what he desires. However, it comes at a cost, because he'll have to apologize to his wife for ruining the food she made. Otherwise, he's in the doghouse tonight. I personally care about the character, as I can imagine that if someone stole my food, I'd want revenge too. And this means I can relate to my character and the emotions they feel and why they want revenge. And if the target audience has ever had something stolen from them, it could be something important or something small, it can still create a relationship between my character and the audience. I'm trying to communicate that revenge can be funny, and stealing food is very, very wrong. Don't do it. And here's my bibliography. Thank you for listening.